crafters, and welcome to Creative Moments by G. I'm G, and I am so happy that you're with us today. We are going to be making an easel card, and we are keeping the beginner card maker in mind. This is a very simple easel card. You can make it, and then you can get down to business decorating it, because that's the fun part, right? So let's head down to the crafting table, and let's get started. Okay, we're going to take an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and we're going to cut it as if it's a top fold. And that means we are going to cut it on the 8.5 inch side. We're going to cut it at 4 1/4. And that makes two nice long strips. And that means you can actually make 2 easel cards from one piece of cardstock. Now, the next thing you want to do is put it in your trimmer, but this time put it on the 11-inch side. And we're going to make only 2 score lines. 2 score lines. Our first score line is going to be at 2 3/4. And then we're going to scoot it on over to the left and score at 5 1/2. And that way, this will fit in a regular size envelope. And so now we have pretty much the basic easel card made. So we're going to take it where we have our long piece of cardstock exposed. And we are just going to fold towards the top. And we're going to use our bone folder to give us a really good crease. Now, when I say we're creating this with the beginner in mind, you can also be an avid card maker, because once you have this design down, you can decorate it by taking it up a step and adding all kinds of things, embellishments, ribbon, and other mats. So this is what it looks like. Do you see how it folds? Now you have your mechanism completely done. The only thing we need now is we need a backdrop. So this is going to be glued down to this bottom portion right here. See how it folds shut? We're going to put glue here and add this mat. Now this mat is 5 1/4 by 4. And you can make it to where it covers the entire panel right here, this white panel, if you want to. But I didn't want to. I wanted some white border to be exposed. So I cut this mat 5 1/4 by 4. And I'm going to go ahead and glue it down so you can see how easy it is. So the only thing we need to do is be mindful of where you want to put your glue. So I'm putting my thumb right here, and I know that I want the glue on this bottom part. So let's just grab our adhesive and let's just get some glue down there. Now you want to make sure and not go over this small little rectangle right here, because if you do, it won't open up right. So let's just go ahead. I opened it up flat, and now I am just putting it right where I want it. And see, I did not put any glue up here. So we have our easel card. Now, this is how easy it is. You could put, for beginners, just a white panel here and stamp it. We're going to put a little something here to hold it in place, and you're done. But let's go ahead and do just a little more. Now, I went ahead and I took a third mat, as if this was a third mat. So it is cut at 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. And I did that because I wanted more of this pretty peacock to show through. But I want to go ahead and stamp this before I put it on. And the reason we do that is just in case we make a mistake. Guess what? We can always flip it over to the other side, right? Well, let me put down just a piece of paper so I don't get my mat dirty. And I'm going to bring in some stamps. Now, I am stamping with Hey Chuck. This is an adorable stamp set that I think you're really going to like. Now, stay with us because I have 2 more easel cards to show you after we finish the 2 that we're going to make together. So I'm just going to bring in some copper clay so that I can stamp a fence because I want to stamp a little scene. And like I said, this is very simple. We're not doing anything difficult yet. And we're just going to step it up just a little bit. But now I'm going to bring in another stamp, and I'm just going to put a little few speckles down here to make it look like rocks, just to make it a little prettier. And now I'm going to bring in my blends, and I'm going to color that fence. And I'm going to use the copper clay again. So we're just bringing in the light copper clay. I'm going to use the brush nib, and I like to use the brush nib because it is very quick in terms of getting something colored. And now I'm going to bring in our little Chuck, and I'm going to stamp him right on top of this fence. And I'm going to stamp him in pecan pie. So, tap, tap, tap. He's standing right on the fence now. And I'm going to go ahead and color him very quickly. Now, I'm going to use two blends. I'm going to use Daffodil Delight and Pumpkin Pie. And I'm just going to tip it in the pumpkin pie, his little topper and then his tail. And once again, I'm using that brush nib because I want it to go very quickly. And I'm also going to use it on his body. And then I'm going to bring in that Daffodil Delight just to give it some different kinds of shading. I'm going to bring in a little bit of pink. I'm going to put just a little dot on his eye right there so it brightens it up. And now we're going to stamp some sentiments. And I'm going to bring in my Night of Navy to stamp those. So the first one I'm going to stamp is You Rule the Roost. We're just going to put that right at the top. And then I'm going to stamp You've Got Something to Crow About. Now, the next thing we need to do is, this is where you can just leave it as is and put it on your easel if you're a beginner and be done with it. But I'm going to step it up just a little bit. And all I did was I took a piece of paper and I just cut out some half circles. So I took a cardstock because it's heavier weight, and I just cut out some half circles. And I'm going to bring in Balmy Blue, and I'm going to make a few clouds, and look how easy this is. We're just going to go right over these words too, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to slant this and hold it, tap off, and just put a few little lines. Now, see how it gets darker right there? Just adding a few clouds. Now look at that. We have our clouds, we have our fence, we have our dirt, and we are ready to add this to the front of our easel. Very easy to create. Now, easel cards need a stopper right in the front, and you can make this as decorative or just as plain as you want. Now, all I did, I took some pretty peacock and some white, And I want to remind you, all the measurements will be listed over on creativemomentsbyg.com. Just go there and click on my blog. So I'm going to set this up on dimensionals, but first I'm going to stamp another message. So I'm going to stamp happy birthday right here on this white part. Now I'm going to set it up on dimensionals. I took the backing off and I'm just going to lay this down, making sure that I have the same borders all the way around. And now we need to decide how high to set this. And I like mine sitting up pretty high, so mine will be just like that. But before we do that, I just want to cut a quick little piece of DSP to put right here. So that is going to be 3 by 4. I'm going to grab my glue. And just lay this down right on the front of the card. And now I'm going to lay this right on top of that. Look how cute that is. And I'm going to set it up on dimensionals just to raise it up a little more. I took the backing off my dimensionals. I have it where I want it. I know I want it right here at the top of this DSP. And now when you go to set it on a table, it sets up perfectly, just like this. You see how that sets up? Super easy to make. This mechanism is so quick to make. You can fold it just like this and slip it in your envelope and it fits perfectly. But let's go ahead and make our second card. Our second card, we are going to use Timeless Charm and Textured Floral for our covering. I have already cut my panel at 4 1/4 by 11, so I'm just going to bring in my trimmer and I'm going to score it. And remember, it's scored at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. We're going to keep the larger part of this panel up at the top and we're going to fold towards it. So just find your crease, grab your bone folder and give it some good reinforcement. And the same thing on this one. Let's just reinforce that score line. And once again, we have our mechanism completely made. Now on this one, I cut out some beautiful crushed curry and some white paper again. And I used the same dimensions as the other one. So we are going to just lay this down just like this. I'm going to get it lined up so that I know where to put the glue. And I'm going to put it right down here. So let's just open up our card, get our borders all the way around, evenly placed, and there we have it. This is all that you need to do to make an easel card. And like I said, if you're a beginner, you might want to make a white panel, stamp it, put your little stopper, and you're done. But you can always step it up just a little bit. Now on this one, I'm going to bring in some extra panels, and I'm using this beautiful DSP. I'm going to put this right over here, making sure that my borders are the same. I'm just going to lay it down with some glue. And I'm going to add this beautiful DSP on top. And now I'm going to take another piece of paper and I'm going to stamp the beautiful flowers. And I am using Calypso Coral and Pretty Peacock. Now, this is a distinctive stamp. And by that, I mean, when you stamp it, it has light spots and dark spots. This bundle has some fantastic dies in it. Look at these beautiful leaves. Now, these don't have stamps because when you cut them out, you don't need stamps, but they are quite beautiful. Now, I'm going to stamp the leaves in this Pretty Peacock. So tap, tap, tap. Just going to stamp those. And look at that. It's distinctive, so you can see there's some light and some dark, and that's exactly the way it's supposed to look. Now I'm going to bring in my Pretty Calypso Coral for the actual flower. So tap, tap, tap. Just going to stamp and hold it. And look at that. So pretty. Now I'm going to cut these out and I'll be right back. So we have cut these out. Aren't they gorgeous? We're going to take this and I'm going to go ahead and glue it down to the front of our easel card. And I'm going to use dimensionals to put it up. Now you can see that we have some Pretty Peacock color, that beautiful color. I like to try to bring in a color that's not as prominent, just to give it some additional color. And then also the Calypso is the flower. So let's put these on dimensionals. We're just going to place this about like that. Put this right on top. And look at this. Now all we have left to do is make our stopper. We are going to put birthday blooms right here, and we're going to stamp it in Pretty Peacock right in the center. We're going to bring in some of the flowers that we have in this kit. And we are stamping that in Calypso. And we're going to stamp some leaves in our Pretty Peacock. But we're only going to stamp a portion of it, so just the very top. Now, I better bring in a piece of paper because I'll be stamping off. Okay, beautiful. And I have cut 3 pieces of cardstock, and that's just to give it some height. So we're going to glue those together. Now on this particular cardstock, I had a little trouble. I have a brand new blade. Sometimes your blade doesn't cut through the paper and it leaves little fuzzies. Well, this was not that problem. It was just the cardstock. So a great tip for that is to just take a very soft fingernail file and just go over the edge, just like this. And that makes it nice and smooth, and you don't have to worry about it. This is just going to give us some additional height. Now I'm just going to glue that right to the top. And this is an excellent tip. If you don't have dimensionals, just glue several pieces of cardstock together for your stopper, and it will raise it, and so you don't need a dimensional. So let's get this exactly where we need it. We're going to get this glued down. And this is going from corner to corner. And we're going to put this right at the top, and then it's going to act as a stopper right there. So let's just go ahead and glue that down. Okay. Now look at this. Sits up perfectly. Very simple to make. It folds and fits right in an envelope, so you don't have to worry about that. So here are the two that we made today. This one has dimensionals on it, and this one does not, but we just added some layers of cardstock to give it the height that it needed so it would act as a stopper. But look at these. Now remember I said I have two more to show you. Now look at this one. I showed you that stamp set that had those dies that cuts out those leaves. Aren't those beautiful? They don't stamp, you just cut them out using dies. And we have it set up just like that. So here they are. And we have one more. Look at this one. It folds perfectly. This is another new stamp set. Oh my goodness. This is a fantastic stamp set. We absolutely love it. Look at those leaves. It's a two-step process. Once again, you just put it right on the stopper and it stays right where it needs to be. So take a moment and leave a comment. Which is your favorite? Well, we hope you enjoyed these easel cards for beginners. Now, you saw where I showed you how you could step it up. So if you're not a beginner, there are so many possibilities to this. You add embellishments and ribbon and more mats and cut out images. You can really step up this design, or you can keep it simple. So if you were inspired, take a moment, give us a thumbs up, like us, and share. Help us grow our channel. Go out, make it a fantastic day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.